Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Fish Talk episode number 27 with my co-host, Joel.
What up, episode 27? How's everybody doing today? I almost said it was Wednesday. I'm getting good at not knowing what day it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had another episode lined up. You might be like, hey, wasn't it supposed to be dwarf shrimp? Yes, it was. And then our super secret special guest had a plane delay. So our first fly-in guest has not flown in yet.
Our first fly-in guest did not make it. Apparently they are experiencing ice. Heavy ice.
Snow?
Air quote, swow.
Swow. Swow. It is swow over there.
Gotta watch out for that swow.
Yes. So instead, today we're going to talk about cycling an aquarium, both fishless, with fish.
Fishless?
With plants.
With plants?
Yes. Have you ever? Can you? I already know the answer. I'm gonna ask. I was like, could you technically cycle an aquarium with corals?
Yeah, you have to cycle with corals. Yeah. Oh well, you mean like a saltwater tank?
Yeah, like
yes, you have to cycle a saltwater tank. Yes.
Yes, yeah, I do understand you have to cycle it, but I'm saying, could you cycle it with coral in, like not coral dead rock, but like actual, like there's a mushroom polyp.
Yes.
I mean,
we'll get into that. There
Okay.
are some that you could do.
Sure.
Like zoanthids would be a great
because I was
example,
like,
yeah.
that just sounds like a terrible idea. I would never do it, and that's why I was like, I think I know that answer, but then maybe
coral's
we can.
not the worst, but we'll get into
All
that.
right.
Yeah.
So all the things with cycling, that's the real thing, is because I'm getting bombarded by people going, my aquarium, I started one, it's doing a thing, but it's not doing the thing that the internet says. Then I asked somewhere, and they gave me 42 different answers.
Right.
Which one do I follow? And it's like, oh, well, they're all kind of right. You know, that's the thing, is no one was wrong, but yeah. So I think the biggest one that I'm not a fan of, and is most popular right now, is the Fishless Cycle.
Fishless cycle.
The Fishless. And
Oh, you mean like the very specific.
yeah, so I'm not against cycling without fish in a tank.
Right.
It's the method that's called fishless cycling,
Gotcha.
and that is where, in a very simple term, and then we're going to go over this, you use ammonia, pure raw ammonia, you dose it into your aquarium, you test to make sure you have 4 parts per million ammonia, and then when your aquarium can cycle through that, your tank has now cycled. You can dose it one more time, watch it do it, then you go buy 1.5 billion fish, and then you go, oh, it's not working how I wanted it to. Things are weird. Oh, I didn't really study any of my other water parameters or things and stuff like that. So, yes, in a nutshell, and I think, and I could be wrong, and I don't want to vilify anyone here, but I think it started from new beginners were killing fish, and we devised, and I say we as in like a hobby or whatever, devised a system of, well, if you follow this to a T by doing ammonia and stuff like that, you will never kill fish again. Like that was like, oh, let's devise a system to prevent this. And then it came down to the practice of, I think it makes perfect sense. If you're a seasoned aquarist, you're like, yeah, you dose some ammonia, you watch it process through, you do your thing. Yeah, it's going to be fine. Oh, and I don't add 1 billion fish. But what got lost in translation, I feel like, is that you read the article, you go, okay, yeah, I bought some ammonia. That was hard to track down online. I got it, though. I put it in. I'm waiting. It's not really doing anything yet. It said it should have been doing stuff by now. I'm not even seeing nitrites yet. But, oh, do I see a nitrate? Am I testing right? And then eventually you get to a point where like, okay, yeah, I got nitrates and there's no ammonia. Okay, good. And then they typically will go and just buy a bunch of fish and plants and things and do all the things, and they don't test the water anymore because they're done. And what happens is, because they weren't feeding a fish and they've never had a fish tank and they've never fed a fish before, it goes all cattywampus on them. And then they go, there's ammonia in my water. I don't get it. I went through this phase. And the problem is, we've given a formula of like, okay, do A plus B and you'll get to C, instead of teaching you that, oh, A is this whole thing, B is that whole thing. And then saying, what is C? We already told you what C is. C is a cycle tank, but we need you to figure out, oh, now my tank is cycled instead of, oh, the thing said it was cycled. So I think that's where the rails came off. We started out with a really good idea. And then I think we've all experienced it at work, right? Like management comes down, we've looked at the process, we're going to do this, company's going to save a ton of money, your job's going to be easier, you're going to get to go home and have dinner with your kids, it's going to be great. And then you put it in like 2 weeks later, everyone's just going, it's a train wreck. This ain't working.
It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Man.
And it works for management because they know it or whatever, but when down at the root level, like the new hires aren't getting it. It's, it's not working. And I think that's what happened with Fishless Cycling. That's what I think happens. And because I do believe you could do that method and you'd be like, yeah, but you already know. Well, you don't just add all the fish at once, but I watch it happen all the time. So I think that's the part that's missing. And then, like, what type of cycling you want to talk about?
Do I want to talk about?
Well, which one would you like? Because, like, I feel like I've covered, like, the pitfalls.
I know that the fishless has been creeping you out.
Well, it's only because it's at the forefront. Like, I don't know if there's, like, 5 good articles out there that are, like, dominating Google search or something.
Right.
But right now, it seems like everyone is hitting me up. And part of it is I get a little more insight to it because the aquarium group support, as in the Facebook group. And so I'm watching from like a macro level, thousands of people that are new to the hobby. We designed that group for new people to go there and get help. And I'm watching them going, yeah, okay, it's day 11. I still have 4 parts per million ammonia. What's wrong? And it's like, well, nothing is wrong, actually. It just, your tank hasn't learned how to do it yet. It's like learning a skill. Like 5 days from now, if I don't know how to build a house, it's not that I've failed. It's that maybe I only know how to build out a bathroom so far. Like there's every person learns at a different rate, just like every tank cycles at a different rate, typically, because there's outside factors. And I think because we don't start with how bacteria finds the aquarium, it's just a magical process of A, B, C, where it's like, okay, yeah, you did A, so ammonia's in there, but bacteria eventually has to find its way to that aquarium, whether it's through the air, whether it's through your hand, whether it's a plant, whether it's from a bottle. Like, it's got to find its way there. And people just assume I put ammonia in, the cycle has started, when the cycle might not start till day 22, because that's when bacteria found its way into your aquarium.
Right.
And it's not like you had 500 units of bacteria. You might have one. Like, it might be like the first organism landed, and now it can start replicating, and you might have another 4 weeks from that point. So, but I think that's lost. And part of it is to fully explain cycling aquarium, it's going to be a 2-hour show. As opposed to people are like, yeah, but people don't read anymore. So we got to break it down into 3 sentences. Like add ammonia, wait for ammonia to turn into nitrate, use an API master test kit, add fish. They're trying to fit it on a pamphlet, try like, oh yeah, I could read, and, so.
I mean, you technically could.
Maybe, but I feel like.
Like, sorry, that sounds weird. I was saying that you technically could fit it on a pamphlet.
For sure. But I feel like.
It's like the explanation. Like if you said, what's baseball? Well, a guy throws the ball, and then a guy hits the ball. Right. And you're like, you're not wrong. Right. Like, you're not wrong, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Like,
you're exactly right with that.
Like, what's. And then if you're like, yeah, well, he hit it to the shortstop. Wait, whoa, hold on.
Exactly. If you tried to explain all of baseball in one pamphlet.
Right.
You would have people that really didn't know how baseball is played, really, honestly. And even if you could fit, like maybe use microscopic writing, you fit every rule to baseball and every nuance on there. It's so much information to take in that you'd be like, I didn't remember that, oh yeah, the common play is, shortstop's going to go to second base on this one, and the infield's going to come in, and you wouldn't, even though you wrote it out somewhere, they got lost in the, that was one of a billion things.
Yeah, like an infield fly rule.
Yeah.
That's not going to be on your little pamphlet, bruh.
I know.
And then you're not going to know what to do.
I hear you. That's exactly the best analogy, though.
As an analogy, though.
That is the best analogy.
It's like football.
Because I was going to use
it's like football.
race
what
car
happens?
driver.
The guy throws the ball over there to that guy, and he catches it, and they run around.
If they make it to that point, and they do it a few times, they win. No. Oh, that's all you got to do. Okay, then. We can do that.
Well, when you score more points than the other team, you stand a good chance to win the game.
So, yes, I do think...
Who was that one? That was Yogi Berra.
Oh, man, I feel bad for not knowing that.
You stand a good chance to win the game.
Oh, man. So, yes, I do think that is the breakdown. I think the breakdown is we're simplifying a process that shouldn't be simplified because it's so important to the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the race car driver. Yeah, you put your foot on the pedal, you drive around in a circle, and you pass people. If you're in number one, you win.
Right.
You know, and it's like that is a true statement. And the guy who's semi-professional or a professional already goes, oh, yeah, that's how you do it.
Right.
You know, but if you've never driven a car before.
And here's a perfect example. And yet another reason why we like to do the Real Fish Talk. And it's not, but I listened to a podcast that had Danica Patrick on it.
Yep.
The female race car driver.
Mm-hmm. Hashtag free plug.
Hashtag free plug. Danica Patrick. Well, she's retiring, so I guess that's the big thing.
Okay.
She's like got 2 races left. She's going to retire.
Okay.
But her talking about driving the race car, you start to realize, like, oh, there's a ton of stuff that is going into that.
Well, I managed to walk in, you listen to that podcast, and they were talking about the rule of it's legal to bash into another car as long as you're passing them.
Right. In NASCAR.
Yeah, in NASCAR.
But not in F1.
Huh.
And they were talking about because she drove F1 first and then went to NASCAR. And you realize, like, how vastly different the cars are. Because, like, the F1 is a paddle shifter.
Yeah,
There's no clutch. But there's a clutch pedal in the car to put your foot on. To just put your foot over there.
Yeah, you rest.
Because all the race car drivers, because she was like, that's how you can feel what the car is doing.
Huh.
With your left foot held where the clutch would be. It's just a pedal. Yeah, so super weird. But same kind of thing. It's like, oh, you just drive around and turn left. And it's like...
It's the same thing in an aquarium. I go, oh, yeah, you have ammonia. How do you know? Well, there's bubbles on the top of your water and it smells like ammonia. You know, it's like, you didn't test it. I didn't need to. I've seen ammonia a billion times.
Right.
Like, she doesn't need to know what the car... I mean, she knows what the car is doing. Like, oh, the foot is vibrating this way. It's pulling to the left, you know, or whatever. Like, that's the thing I think we're missing in the translation in that fishless cycle method. So, you know, like I've done videos on how I cycle tanks, stuff like that. I'm a big proponent of, instead of processing ammonia into nitrates, I really wish we could change the entire verbiage and language to seasoning a tank. Like I always use this, and you should be really in tune with it because you're used to being a chef.
What?
I always thought it was like, it's like making a fish tank is like making, and I don't do this, so this analogy might be horrible, but you know, like when you go to someone's house and they can make you the best meal ever, and it's because they have like that iron skillet that's like got 20 years of cooking into it, and it's got its own like flavor, and he knows how to use it or she knows how to use it. That's how I feel like an aquarium is. Like each one is different, and they get better with age, and you got to like season them and like cultivate it and make it a long-term, you know, it's an inanimate object, but it's like it's always morphing and changing. Like, well, yeah, we cook bacon for 4 months straight. It's going to be a little smoky when I make you a grilled cheese now, okay?
Going to have some bacon essence.
Right. And I feel like the aquarium is the same way of like, we need to season, you know, make them seasoned as in long-term projects. Many bumps are going to come like, oh, geez, you know, we burnt onions in it. Okay, that's a setback. But, you know, so you need things like algae. You need things like the bacteria that we started out talking about. You need the microorganisms like copepods and worms and planarians and all these things, because all of those things working together is what makes that environment work. Because so many people are like, oh, well, I have bacteria. We're good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go. It's happening.
And then, so even if they did Fishless Cycle, right? So it's like, all right, no problem. Sweet. And then they go, I got algae. What am I going to do? Oh, my God. Oh, I read on the internet it's a horrible problem and snails are going to eat everything. And oh, my God. And then they just go like, they freak out and they go, don't worry. I bought 6 gallons of Algae Fix. We're going to be okay.
I got Algae Fix and it's going to be all good.
Right.
Right.
So, and that's because we didn't go through the seasoning thing of like, okay, look, you're going to burn that pan. There's going to be some things but it all adds character, and you're going to learn as you go.
Right.
So that's why I really would love to be able to. And the problem is, you can't go back and change 2 million articles on the internet. The only hope we have is like a King of DIY, Taylor Nicole Dean, me, the top 5 biggest blogs, all that coming together going, we're going to try and change the verbiage, and it'll take 10 years to change that verbiage to trickle down into a fish store.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to change, and that's the harder part. But change obviously got to start somewhere.
Well, you have to look at it in terms of that, bacteria and cell replication and all that kind of stuff. It's essentially going to be happening on a doubling factor, right? So if you, for instance, have, and I was even listening to this on the way here today, was the doubling factor on what's that?
I said you didn't even know we were going to do the show this because
it was on the doubling factor of stem cells. Because again, I was listening to a podcast, and I think everybody knows what that one was. Everyone knows it was JRE. I was listening to JRE again, and then I was listening to a different cast that was about the stem cell research, because that's what that one was on. And one of the things that they were talking about was the doubling in stem cells is the same with bacteria, right? So you start with 1, and it takes like a day.
Yep.
And then it doubles to 2.
Yep.
And then, but this is in relation to stem cells. So stem cells from somebody who is like 60 years old, the doubling time is longer, right? So it would take like, instead of it taking 24 hours to double, whereas it would take like 80 hours to double.
A 2-year-old kid,
right?
Those cells are.
So, for instance, if you're trying to double aerobic bacteria versus anaerobic bacteria, they double at a different rate.
Oh, I didn't know
It's
that.
not like just everything across the board doubles every half an hour.
Because in my mind, I put a little check mark in, okay, I read a paper, and I read that nitrifying bacteria in a perfect scenario. Now, keep in mind, that's not a aquarium scenario. A perfect scenario under lab results replicated every 16 hours.
Right.
Is what they were. And then the extrapolation on that article was, in a typical aquarium setting, we think it's about 24 hours.
Right.
And so
it's actually So it's actually when it's doubling at a slower, it's just doubling at a slower rate, just because the it's not a perfect environment at all times. Especially it's not a perfect environment if you don't already have a lot of bacteria there.
Right.
And
it might not be like the sterile aquarium might not even be like, how am I trying to say this? Like, okay, so for instance, I've got a bottle of stability here. It's got live bacteria in it, and it's got food for bacteria.
Right.
Now, if I was just to put some bacteria...
What is that? What is that you got there?
Stability?
C-Chem Stability.
Hashtag free plug. So I've got some stability here. Got it up to the store when I was doing the unboxing. But it does have live bacteria in it, assuming that it didn't get way too hot in shipping or way too cold. There's some... with a grain of salt.
Some variation.
It should have some live bacteria in it. And then it's got things in it that is the food for the bacteria. So that's part of the problem, is like, it can only replicate if there's food. And we're like, well, what's food? It's like, well, decomposing stuff, ammonia, and just because you put like straight ammonia in isn't always mean it's got the building blocks it needs to convert all the chain.
Right.
So like you need a sterile aquarium. Oftentimes, like, your media you buy will still have casting. Like if you put bioballs in, let's say, well, there still had to be something to keep it to get out of the mold. So like that has to dilute off, and like the longer that bioball is there, the more likely it is to actually be inhabitable for bacteria. Even though you're going, well, I got the thing and I got the thing, they go together. They do, but there's a little bit of prep work there. Bacteria's got to learn how to use that one. So yeah, it's way more difficult than just every 24 hours it's going to double. Oh, I had 1 today, I got 2 tomorrow, I got 4 the next day, I got 8 the day after that. And a lot of people go, well, all right, glug, 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 glug. And they go, all right, tomorrow I'll have twice as much as that. And it's like, well, only if you had enough homes for it, And just because you have a lot of surface area doesn't mean you got room. So that's seasoning. I like the seasonings. And then let's do fish in cycle. Like, so the opposite of that is using fish as opposed to pure ammonia.
Right.
Right? So you go and you get a modest amount of fish. Now, part of the problem on the internet is, what's a modest amount of fish? It really depends. Is it a 5-gallon tank? Is it a 55-gallon tank? Is it a 180-gallon reef? Like, all those, the modest amount of fish is different, and it's really hard to explain that to someone. So let's say you go and you go, okay, well, I'm going to grab myself 6 neon tetras for my 20-gallon tank. Fairly reasonable. Okay. You start feeding them, and the food that you put in, becomes the food source for bacteria. It's going to turn into ammonia, and something's going to need to process it. But you also get added benefits with fish. Now, the horrible, oh my God, you're using fish in a fish tank to cycle it crowd would say, but there's a chance you're going to kill those fish.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. But fish, when they go to the bathroom, bacteria comes out on their feces. That's one of the best ways to start getting bacteria into your aquarium. Is they were eating a piece of algae and all that kind of stuff at the store. They came home and they go, oh God, it's a new tank, I'm so scared. And they go, and they go to the bathroom in the tank, and now you just got a little jump start.
What was that noise you had? Oh, like that.
It also had a hand move, but it was below the camera.
It's all flat. Flatten it out.
So yeah, they kind of come, you know, the problem is, here's the problem, I think. It's not that, like, I always, and this people are going to be, oh my God, I always cycle my tanks with plants and fish at the same time, but I'm not a new aquarist. The problem, I think, lies in, oh, it's your first aquarium. You just got 6 neon tetras. Oh, you're worried they haven't had breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Oh, and they need a little bit of dessert too? Yeah. You only have had them for 3 days. You better feed them and love them and kiss them and hug them, and you end up killing them with kindness. And so that's where the problem is. Where when I get fish, and let's say I'm doing a fish in cycle, I feed those guys once, and then 7 days later I feed them again. Like, I literally just let them fast.
Right.
They're not gonna die. They're, you know, and I'm not using crazy aggressive fish. They're gonna eat each other. And then, so like when someone walks into the store, I'll tell them, let's get you some fish. Let's get you a source of bacteria as well, but let's focus on this fish part. I want you to feed them 4 days from today, because they've eaten at my store.
Yeah.
So 4 days from today, you can feed them. And they're like, come on, can't we feed them more? My kids really, really want to feed them. And I'm like, really, you shouldn't. They're, you know, and I really stress that they're going to be stressed out. They're not going to want to eat. Think of them like they're sick. When you're really sick, you don't want to eat, right? And so then they feed them that 4th day. And then I tell them to feed 1 week after that. So it's another 7 days. But then that week after that, feed them twice that week. Spread it out.
Yeah.
Week after that, feed them 3 times that week. Week 4, feed them 4 times. And pretty soon, over the course of 7 weeks, they've stepped up to feeding them once a day. Like, and that is a lot easier because they've got fish. They're not just like waiting like outside the store, like just face against the glass going, I can't wait to own one. I can't wait to own one. They get some.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now in their mind, because you've set it up that way, they're thinking, okay, in 7 weeks, I'm ready to add more fish. And they're getting, and they're watching it, and nothing bad's happening. They're watching, and then they come get more fish. And then you just train them like, okay, we're not going to feed that much more than we already were. And I find that to be way easier than trying to go like, yeah, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to go home. You're going to cycle your tank. Go ahead and come on back when you're done. You know, like that. Just they're like, no, I just got done buying my tank of PetSmart. I'm here to buy fish because they said their fish weren't healthy and to come here. Like if I just say, nope, we won't sell you fish, they're never going to learn.
Right.
And it's that learning process. And when, you know, so you're going, okay, 7 weeks, but guess what happens? Like week 3 or 4, algae sets in. Corey, there's brown stuff, hairy stuff in my aquarium. I'm very worried. What do I do? Nothing. That is exactly what we want to see.
Yeah.
Couldn't be looking for anything better right now. Perfect. You know, that is exactly, we're seasoning that tank. You're going to learn how to work with some algae right at the beginning. And then, you know, then it's a good chance like, oh yeah, you want to get an algae eater? Because a lot of people, they want to get an algae eater from day one going, well, I got to get a cleaner fish. I don't want this tank getting dirty.
Right.
You know, so the fish in cycle, I think, has got a lot of benefits to it. And I think it has more benefits than detriments. I'm not saying there's not risk there, but I do think there is just as much risk in a fishless cycle than a fish in cycle to any hobbyist that is new to the hobby and is well versed enough to know what a fishless cycle would be.
Yeah.
If you've done the research, I think if you could read an article on how to fishless cycle, you could also read the same article that says, here's how you're going to do it with fish. What we tend to find, though, is that if you take 100 cases of, okay, you did a fishless cycle, let's say 70% were successful, 30% weren't, and then you take 100 people that didn't do a fishless cycle, and you go, oh, only 50% were successful. Why? Well, out of those 100 people, only 20 people ever read an article on how to cycle an aquarium. So that's the difference. It's not that, oh, this has a way higher kill rate. It's that when you poll the people, they're at a different level of investment into that hobby, I think, is the problem.
Yeah.
So, I think it gets a bad rap, but I think we can change the conversation to, and you can still, that's the great thing is, like, after learning all that, you can go, well, I'm not going to do it. Cool. You don't have to. But even just listening to all this ranting for the first 28 minutes,
right,
the average new hobbyist knows way more about cycling an aquarium ever than they did earlier. And at least then you're making a choice instead of going, oh, well, I read this article, I'm going to do that. Now you're educated in a couple of ways, and you're going to pick between the two. If not, third and fourth and fifth ways, we're going to give you how to do it too. So the next way, I think, that's, we were talking about this earlier, and I know you're into this way. I really like cycling a tank with bacteria from an aquarium.
Yeah.
So my example that I brought from the store, because I think this is pretty much the best thing you could buy almost, that any store would have, like PetSmart, Petco, all that.
Is that what I think it is?
This is a Miramo moss ball. Now, this thing is sponge-like. It's got an insane amount of surface area.
You're stressing me out, bro.
Oh, am I stressing you out?
Yeah, the Miramo moss ball.
Why?
Because I think they're cute.
Okay.
And it stresses me out.
You can have this one. But it's covered in bacteria because it's been living in an aquarium. Now, you dunk this into your tank. It's that start of bacteria. So you go, I just bought an aquarium. I'm going to buy myself a moss ball. I'm going to buy myself some stability. Pour both of those in there. You're going to get the process started. So you can at least then go, it's day one.
Yeah.
I know beneficial bacteria went in, and I put some food in there. Now you can be a little perplexed when you're like, it hasn't done anything. It's day 11. You at least know when the bacteria entered the tank. So you got a starting point.
Yeah. You're going to definitely at least have a marker that you could mark down on the calendar and go.
Said bacteria entered this aquarium.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee how fast it's going to replicate. You can't guarantee that you didn't kill it some other way. But you can say, on this day, I put this in, and here's what might be happening. So the second benefit is this living plant or algae also consumes waste. So if you did have fish and the fish went to the bathroom, this plant might grow a little bit and consume some of that waste. And so you might not even need the bacteria that's on this thing. In a perfect world, in my perfect aquarium, I honestly don't need much bacteria because the plants are just doing some serious work. It seems daunting. It does seem daunting for the new aquarists to do live plants because, I got to get all this equipment. I read on the internet it needs CO2. I need all these things. I'm just, my corner case that walks into my store is, no. We want a very small aquarium. We want it to be easy. We want it to be cheap. We don't want to bite off all that. Nope. But you can usually go, here, you need this $5 moss ball. Buy this moss ball, get that betta you want, get those tetras. And a lot of times, because something like this, like $19 or $17, I don't even know what it is. Like, it's not priced here, so don't quote me on it. But they're going, no, I'm not buying a bottle of that stuff because you already told me I had to buy a dechlorinator. No, you're just loading me up with stuff I don't need. My dad had a fish tank. He never needed something like that. And you're going, geez, that's a beating. So, but tell us your preferred way of adding
my
bacteria.
Preferred way. You know, you and I were talking about this earlier because I feel that this question a lot of times, I guess, I'm thinking.
At least twice.
Can't put a number on it, but it's a lot. And one of the big things that I've always mentioned is to find something from an established aquarium is the easiest way to do it. That is the easiest way to do it. Oftentimes people are like, well, it's super easy to put water in the tank and then put some ammonia in there, and that's like really easy. And I'm like, no, that is not easier than just finding something from an established tank. Like, and two ways that I've talked about this a few times. That, like, one of the ways that I used to do it is I used to go to the local fish stores and I would go, hey, can I have a chunk of sponge filter? Can I have a chunk of filter floss or something? And sometimes stores would go, no, it's in our filter. And go, okay, well, what kind of filter do you use? Like, show me the specific material that you use. And then they take you and show you. And then you go, I'm going to buy one of those. You can take the new one and put it in your filter. I want the used one. Right? And then you go, okay, well, that's worth what the store wanted, was to make a little sale on a little filter material. And me, I'm going to get my filter material that has a bunch of doo-doo and bacteria all over it, that's what we're searching for. You know, earlier we were talking about that, you know, the bacteria is sort of doubling, essentially. And that realistically is the easiest way to describe it. It's like, you know, 1 makes 2, 2 makes 4, 4, you know, what's the next? 8,
16.
8, wait, what?
Just think of memory for computers. It gets really easy then. Oh yeah, 128, 256, 512.
Like, oh yeah.
1024. Like, once that goes to nerd terms, somehow you multiply like a genius.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, oh yeah, we're going to get to 1 gig, then we get to terabyte, and then, you know.
Yeah, so basically what you're doing is you're trying to establish a colony of bacteria, right? And the reason for saying that is that as you start out with, let's say, 1 bacteria, which would be weird. Oh, there's that sneeze.
Coming to get you.
I knew it was coming this whole time. I was like, come on, where's that sneeze?
Everyone in chat just thought you were falling asleep earlier.
No, I was like...
It was sneeze
fighting. It was like, am I going to sneeze? I don't know.
You were just getting ready, like, if I sneeze, it's got to be right into the mic.
Yeah. I was waiting for that for a long time. I was like, where's that sneeze at? It's coming.
Yeah.
But, you know, to think about the bacteria that you have to think about it in the terms of it being a colony, like a herd, you know, is that you wouldn't have 400,000 buffalo the first year, you know, and when times are lean and there's not a lot of food, you're not going to have 400,000 buffalo or whatever, you know. So you need to look at the way that bacteria is colonized as the colony, right, is going to have ebbs and flows. It's gonna grow and it's gonna deplete, and it's not necessarily going to be immediate unless you were to, like, you know, dump a gallon of bleach in your aquarium or something like that. That would knock it down a little bit. But you need to bear in mind that the colony is gonna grow. It's gonna deplete depending on what's going on, like food sources and temperature and all that kind of stuff. But when I would go, sometimes when I would go to the store back in the day, the easiest way to get was to get that filter material, something like that. Now somebody might be, even with my little trick of buying a filter, a brand new filter piece, and then going, I want that one. They won't give it to you. For whatever reason. I don't know. I've heard people...
Usually it's we need you to buy like $1 billion worth of chemicals, bro.
Well, oftentimes they won't... I've heard a litany of nonsensical reasons why they won't. They're like, well, we don't do that. Or, well, the store would have a liability to blah, blah, blah. It's, like, it's nonsense. They're making up stories.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
When you're new to the hobby, you don't know it. But, you know, if you're listening to this and you don't have an aquarium yet, just reply to them like... And this is why you won't be my local fish store. Thank you.
Right. This is why I won't be here anymore.
I have a brand new tank that I'm about to buy. I'm about to spend $1,000 in the next 6 months. But not with you, apparently.
It seems weird to me, but I've heard it from a lot of people. You know, it's never happened to me where somebody was like, no.
Well, I think part of the problem is I think you could walk into a PetSmart and Petco, and if that was your only local thing, and it's random like, oh yeah, you're the sales associate for like the bird aisle. They're like, no, we don't take things out of the tanks. It says on the wall not to do that, so we don't do that. But I think even if you got like the fish manager, they'd be like, yeah, man, here's a handful of gravel. You know, like anyone that is actually into fish, and maybe that's the metric, would help you. Maybe you got a fish store owner that's all burnt out and hates life, and they don't want to help you. But anyone that's into fish should be like, yeah, we could help you. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, would it help you?
They would help you.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people out there are dealing with places like Walmart or whatever.
Right. I mean, that's...
So I get where it's going.
Yeah.
And personally, I would never go to Walmart to buy fish or fish stuff or whatever.
But if that was your only option...
Yeah, let me say that.
All right.
Let me say it, bro.
All right.
But if, like, that's the only place that you can go to, right? Yeah, like relax, buddy.
Get down here on our level.
Relax, man. But yes, if that is that one place that you can go to, and it's the only place you have access to,
yeah.
I mean, maybe the only place you have access to is a 7-Eleven. I don't know. 7.8 billion people on the planet. I'm sure to not know everybody's situation. And sometimes people do that, right? Sometimes people have told me, they're like, they won't do it for me. They won't do that. And you go, okay, now we got to go to Secret Ninja Maneuver Part 2. Right? Now, I've seen this happen before. Well, I haven't like seen it happen, but I've heard wind of it happen, and they couldn't get this. You couldn't get the filter part. You couldn't get any biological material from them. You couldn't get anything like that. Okay, well then you move on to the next step. Oftentimes, these stores like this would at least have systems that are holding the fish, so they're going to have bacteria for a long time. And as you and I we talked about this earlier, was a lot of store tanks just have a couple of pieces of driftwood in them, you know,
or even plastic decoration. They got to have something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Plastic decoration is not the best thing in the world to necessarily go for, but most stores that have holding tanks with fish in them, they'll have like 1 or 2 pieces of driftwood in there.
Something,
right?
Yeah.
Just so you can move it out of the way, so that whoever working there can move it out of the way, net the fish, and then get back to work on whatever. And so what I've done in the past was that I went, hey, could I buy that wood right there, right? And I've encountered this before. The wood is not for sale out of the tank.
Not my wood.
Not this wood. Now, oftentimes right next to the tank, there'll be like a plant or something along those lines. And you and I were talking about Anubias barteri earlier. That I was like, well, okay, now here's that real trick. Which is why you brought the plant in and, trying to steal my thunder by bringing in a moss ball. I should have had an Anubias in my pocket.
I thought you were just happy to see me.
Of course.
Yes.
But what I would have done in the past was I tried to buy the driftwood, and the guy was like, no, those aren't for sale from the store ones. So I went to the driftwood pile, and I just picked out a piece of driftwood that looked just like the one in the tank. And I was like, can I buy this one, and you give me the wet one from in there? And the guy just kind of went, okay. And so I was able to buy some, essentially, it's not cycled wood. That's not the right way to put it, but it was wood that had a good amount of bacteria.
G-Bear says seasoned wood?
Seasoned wood? Yeah, that's pretty good.
This one's 2 seasons old, guaranteed to burn quick.
That's right, it's going to burn quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't call it cycled wood, but seasoned wood is great. That's a great way to put it. It's going to be coated in some bacteria that has been going on in the area there. So that's another good jump off point, is that like, oh, on the 18th of January, I put, is when I put those plants, like the 2 Anubias and some seasoned wood into the aquarium, and then I know that's when, like, I physically added some bacteria, right? And that's a great jump-off point and can start to give you an idea of what's going on. And like I mentioned earlier, just because you put something with bacteria in it doesn't mean that you're cycled at this point. Right. Like, you have the colony that's going to start doing things. And I think that, you know, I have some older videos where I was showing people, like, here's how I move all the media from my other aquarium. And I think there was some confusion initially because I was like, yeah, it's going to quick cycle. It's going to cycle real quick. You know, that people were like, oh, it's like 5 minutes. It's like, well, no, I kind of at least leave it a day for the bacteria to at least start moving around and colonizing.
In my
and
mind,
starting
it's always at least a week.
Right. But they're in there.
Yes.
And as I add food and stuff, I'm going to give a food supply to the bacteria, which is going to start going. Now, I wouldn't move if I was going to do that, which may be one of those things I wasn't great about explaining in the past. But, like, if I move like 100 shrimp over there, I'm really not adding that much to the bio load.
Right.
Right.
Because you might only feed them 2 little shrimpy pellets.
Right. It's just going to be like 2 little pellets or something. It's just not that much. And when I say bio load, right, which has always generally been pretty confusing to a lot of people, is that when I say bioload, it's the ability for that bacterial colony to process wastes, whether it be ammonia or nitrate, all that kind of stuff going on. That's what the bioload is about. It's essentially that, like, the colony is like 400,000 buffalo. You know what I mean? It's like the colony is really big, so it's able to handle waste from a lot of fish, right? Which is something that you'd have to work your way up to if you think about it. You're not going to start out with this giant colony right off the bat. It's going to take time to grow all that bacteria that's going to be cycling the stuff down. And I know a while ago you and I talked about it, that I think people were kind of, their minds were blown about aerobic bacteria versus anaerobic bacteria. And that's one of those things that people are like, well, I don't, you know, I occasionally still get a question from that once, you know, blue moon or something. But people are like, I don't understand what you're saying, like the difference between the two. And it's like, well, aerobic bacteria is something that we can promote that does benefit our tank, right?
Yep.
Now, anaerobic bacteria are extremophiles, right? So anaerobic bacteria as extremophiles, there really isn't that much we can do to promote them growing, replicating, doing more.
The analogy I have for it,
like, there's nothing that we can, like, directly do, right? To promote them, that colony getting bigger. It'll essentially get about as big as it's going to get and sort of sustain itself over a period of time. Whereas aerobic bacteria, you know, you're adding oxygen, you're making sure your temperature's right, you're adding oxygen, you're making sure your temperature's right, and you're consistently doing that, right, over time. And that can continue to grow that colony of bacteria to a point where it's like, well, I'm going to drop this salmon in there, boop, and then it's like, oh, we saw a slight spike.
Yep.
Now it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like the anaerobic bacteria, it takes way longer to colonize. Like, on average, it takes at least 6 months, right? And so the way I was thinking about it just now is, like, you seem to be able to build and fix anything you touch, right? So
me?
Yes, in my opinion, I'll just
except for when
that.
I'm waiting for a sneeze and then it looks like I'm falling asleep.
So you are crazy handy, way more handy than I am. That I know this because I know who I am. Now, you might be anaerobic bacteria, and I am aerobic bacteria. Now, you can teach me how to do easy tasks, right? But it would take a very long time for me to become the level of you. Like, you know, a long, long time. That's the big difference, is like, you can't speed up and go, oh, let's just crank out 6 more Joels. Like, I'll hire 5 guys, and in a week, they'll be at Joel's level. That just can't be done. But you could go like, oh, well, they're all building fence parts. Like, we spent 7 days only building 1 fence part. They can all do it now.
Right.
That's what I could do. We could make more and more and more aerobic bacteria really pretty easily in comparison. But when it comes to that old bacteria that's seasoned, well adapted, you know, knows a lot of different scenarios, and like, it just survives in the middle of that rock or wherever that's going to be, that's Joel. He's going, oh, I've done that. Oh, I did that. I've done that 6 times. Done that twice. Done that a million times. And so that's the thing, is we can't really rush into that. So that's why all the articles and everything, they basically focus on how to make aerobic bacteria, because it doesn't make sense to make an article like, here's how you become Joel with 30 years of construction knowledge. Like that article, that's a encyclopedia set. That's not an article, you know. So I think that for me, it at least helps me understand that. And then also the other thing that I wanted to chime in on, your driftwood thing is way better than I thought. And I didn't realize it till 10 minutes ago. The wood itself is rotting. So the wood is the fuel to replicate the bacteria. It goes, oh, wood's decomposing. Oh, let me eat some of that.
Yeah,
that's why it's the
crazy
perfect
part
scenario.
Of it, that it's like, it's not only is it food, but it's also a porous. Right, it's also porous, so the bacteria is able to cling to it, and it's also going to be eating the breakdown.
So it's
of
like
the wood.
wicked efficient with the wood, because someone was saying like, couldn't you buy a plant and it's got rock wool in it, it's going to be coated in bacteria? Definitely. That answer is yes. Same thing. This would be coated in bacteria, but that wood is better because it is its own food source for that bacteria. It is a self-sufficient thing. So much so that like dirty gravel would also do it. Like if you could get like, give me a pound of that dirty, no, don't clean it. Give me that dirty gravel. Give me a pound of that dirty gravel, because that mulm and everything that's in there would also fuel the replication of the bacteria.
Yeah.
And I don't know about this in freshwater. Maybe you do. But I know in saltwater, it's from my limited knowledge compared to a lot of saltwater people, I think it's known that bacteria and algae travel downward. So usually you put like your cycled rock and stuff above uncycled rock, and it will travel down and seed that. Will it do that in freshwater as well? Like, are we best off to put that pound of gravel on top of other gravel, or mix it in, or do you know any? Have you ever read anything about that?
I would say mix it in. I mean, I definitely. I would find it odd that somebody would say that bacteria would be like traveling directionally.
Yeah, because so maybe you know the reason. Why is it that in saltwater tanks they always say put your live stuff above the dry rock?
Because the dry rock's ugly.
It's just straight up appearances?
Well, and coralline algae and stuff like that need light. A bunch of the things in saltwater, they require light.
Yeah. And so I wonder if
you would want to continue them to be illuminated.
I wonder if I'm a victim of what people are a victim of in freshwater, and that is the Fishless Cycle. I did a little bit of reading, go, oh yeah, you put it above, and someone wrote an article that says, oh yeah, because everything travels down, and that became a fact for me, as opposed to like, oh, you've done 7,000 aquariums. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, saltwater tanks.
And it's like Lumpy Dog here saying bacteria typically moves by point of contact.
Right.
But remember that water is a point of contact.
Right.
That moisture, that 100% humidity water,
Yeah.
Water is a point of contact. The real thing that will kill out bacteria is completely drying it out.
Right.
That's the drying the surface is what doesn't necessarily kill the bacteria, but it completely stops it from replicating. If you have a completely dry, bare surface, it may have a couple of bacteria on it, but it's not going to replicate in a dry environment like that. So that's the upside of an aquarium, is that there's water in it all the time. So the bacteria actually it can move whatever direction
it's going. The tunnel system.
And it's not self-propelled either. So if you do have a good flow through your tank, it's just going to end up on everything, which is actually beneficial.
Let me hit you with a question here. All right?
What's your question?
Why do you think...
You got any cornflakes? Oh, sorry. Yes. I was trying to do the thing from earlier, man.
Why do you think saltwater, they're like, no, I say they. Why is it in the saltwater hobby...
It's so hard to word things sometimes. Yeah.
Why is it in the saltwater hobby, it's well known, you must seed your tank with like live rock, which in my opinion is the equivalent of seeding a freshwater tank with wood. Why is it that one camp is like, yeah, you don't do that, you would be insane, and the other camp is like, freshwater us going, ain't no one got time for that, no one does that,
Oh, well, well,
How do you think
Okay, first of all,
we're the same hobby, and then
in a reef aquarium, you can do the exact same thing. You can do ammonia.
I know you can do it
as your cycle starter.
But as an outsider, I feel like I feel like the common wisdom is go get yourself some live rock.
Well, it's like oftentimes like people are they think that like doing a reef tank or a saltwater tank is so difficult.
So they just invest more knowledge time?
Well, it's just they spend more time researching, and almost anybody in a reef group would be like, yeah, buy 90 pounds of dry stuff, glue it up, make it into the scape that you want, and then seed it with live rock.
Right.
And like, well, why wouldn't you? I don't know. Why not? You want it to take longer? And I mean, I know a lot of seasoned saltwater guys later down the line, they go, oh, I want to start a tank from scratch, and they do.
Right.
But by that point in time, it's like the cycle to kick live in a saltwater tank, like a reef tank, can take 6 months.
Right.
Like, and I'm not saying like,
no, that's a
like
normal.
Maybe
that's
6
a
months.
normal.
It's like 6 months.
Yeah.
And you might be able to add a couple of chrome.
Well, like
someone,
or something like Little Largemouth was thinking the same thing I'm thinking of. Do you think that evolved based on, like, oh, I want to start a saltwater tank. That's going to cost me $700. I better research the heck out of that.
I think that probably has something to do with it.
And then my brain leapt to the next step and said, I wonder how many people walk into, let's just say.
Here you go. Let's stick with the car analogy from earlier.
All right.
How many Lamborghini owners
12
don't change their oil versus Honda owners?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Barring the fact like the Lamborghini owners probably don't change their own oil, but getting the car serviced, they're probably diligent about it.
Oh, we have 57,000 miles. I have to do whatever
because they've got more on the line.
I got to change the timing chain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my next question was, the only place I can think of that's universal so that a lot of people can identify, I wonder how many people walk into a Petco, which are kind of known for selling saltwater and freshwater, walk in and just go like, I'd like all the things and a Nemo, please, to go, versus...
That happens all the time.
Right, but compared to, I'd like all the things and an Oscar to go because of price point. I wonder if
that happens all the time, too.
Right, but is it like a 2-to-1, like 2 freshwater to every 1 saltwater type of deal? Based on price point? And...
You know what's weird is like, I'm not sure. I think price point is the negotiation against it. If it's someone else's decision, like dad's decision or your wife's decision, you know, like if someone else is involved in the decision.
But if you had like just gotten off work and you're like, I'm getting a fish tank, and then you're like, that one looks cool. Like I need that.
Some more often than not, the people that would come in that no one else was involved in the decision making while they were there at the store. It was like, oh, I have $80. I want to get $80 worth of stuff. So we figure out how to get $80 worth of corals, right? For instance, they're like, well, I have $80 to spend, so I'm going to try and figure out how to get as much coral as I can for $80, basically, right? And then they'll just spend it, you know, or they'll just buy an $80 fish because they want that fish. And I've fallen for that too. When I was in Portland, I bought some fish that probably we shouldn't have bought.
When in Rome,
the Gardneris, man. I do really like them though. It was the time to get them because they were there.
Hey, but as long as you're enjoying them.
Regardless of that, to answer the question a little bit better, I think it really comes down to when someone else is making the decision, because somebody would, oftentimes people would come in and go like, I want a Nemo. And it's like, but it's a kid.
Right.
So like the dad has to go, yeah. Or the mom has to go like, that's, okay, let's get one. And then you go, and then we'd start the interview process of the customer, right? And go like, oh, what kind of tank do you have? Oh, we have a 10-gallon tank. There's no water in it yet. And it's like, you can't buy a Nemo today. Like, well, why not? Because you'd just be killing it. Well, I'm not going to kill it. I'm a good person. Like, yeah, that's why you're not going to buy it today. You're not ready. You're not ready for it. So, but no one ever wants to hear that they're not ready for it.
Right. I mean, that's
like, you know. I'm an adult. I know what I'm doing.
Well, how about you spend this $80 and you buy some rocks that have nothing on them?
Right. And oftentimes, like, people that are trying to give somebody advice along those lines where they're like, oh, you know, like, now would be not a good time to, now would be not a good time to get that fish. Like, you're not ready for it. And it's like, this guy's being a jerk to me.
Right.
You know, and it's like, no, I think he was just being pretty honest with you about the fact that you're, like, not ready yet, you know, to do it.
There's not many hobbies where...
If you have big, giant eyebrows like I do.
Yeah.
You know.
Hit him with the eyebrow face.
I got that face. You know. And they're like, you was so mad.
Well, I think part of the problem is there's not too many hobbies where you have the money and then someone tells you you're not ready.
Right.
Like... Oh, you want to be a race car driver? Oh, you have? $400,000? Saddle on up, partner.
Here you go, buddy.
Yeah, we can get you into something for that.
You think you could hit 240 in this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Where, you know, there's not too many... I'm trying to think of other hobbies where they legit stop you. Like, oh, you got money. Nope. You know.
Skydiving, maybe?
Maybe it's like a medical thing where you're like, hey, you've got to make sure you're not going to have a heart attack on the way down. But I think even then, like...
They're going to send you up with another guy, right? Or gal.
Yeah, they'll send you up with someone. That's what I'm saying. If you got the money, pretty much aren't they just like, yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of another hobby where they would, like a gun, for instance, maybe a permitting process. But if you have the money, yeah, I'm trying to think of, because like a hamster, a snake, they're probably like, yeah, sure, man. Yeah, put it in the cage. Like there's no cycling on the cage. Just take the cage. So yeah, that's something to ponder. I think that's part of the problem is that people aren't used to that experience, right? Like, because even if I'm trying to think of other livestock, like I want to build a giant garden, Home Depot's like, great, you got the money, we sell you all the things.
Here's the stuff.
Yeah,
take it with you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is a lot of people out there that have the hey get out of here mentality. You know, stores and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here, take this stuff and get out of here. You know.
Yeah.
That's yours now.
Saying, yes,
you bought it.
There will always be people that will just take money over everything. But like Nisi said, private pilots need a license. There's always going to be qualifications, but if you have the money, I think if you had, like, whatever that money costs, I don't know what it is, but if you go, hey, I got 10 grand, I would like to get my private pilot's license. They're going, yep, okay. Not like, well, you're not ready. You didn't sit around for 6 weeks first, and then you can give us 10 grand. I think, you know, scuba diving, no, I think if you have the money and you buy all the equipment and you show up, the instructor will be like, yeah, let's start taking lessons. You know, I think, yeah. So, but we are at the 1 hour mark.
Oh, we got to do super chats.
Super chats.
Wah, wah, wah. I'm going to get a coffee.
Yeah, you re-up. You re-up. And I will open the super chats.
You open the super chats, bro.
Super chats.
Don't worry, man. I'm right here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right.
Bro, there's meats and cheeses in here.
There are meats and cheeses. My wife got all the meats and the cheeses for all the peoples.
I just figured out there's meats and cheeses in there. I gotta give me some of them meats and cheeses.
There should be crackers too. They might not. They may be in the house.
Crackers.
All right, I stand corrected.
What are you doing?
Yes.
What are you silly goose?
Pleco Nation with the $5 super chat. Thank you for the support. That's that's all I needed.
Oh.
Brendan's life. This
Look how
is
short the super chats are today. We're gonna talk about these for very long.
We're gonna blaze through these.
Yeah.
Brendan's life. I find that Fishless Cycle is only good for nitrogen. It created an unbalanced ecosystem because of the lack of microorganisms. Yeah, I would say that's a true statement.
Yeah.
I mean, he fired that off pretty early in the show.
It's a great statement.
Yeah, I think, and I saw someone earlier in the chat was like, well, those are all good ways to get snails. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's a great way to get snails and other things you want in your aquarium.
I want snails in there.
Exactly. Like, I find, let me think here. I find it's harder to get all the things you want in an aquarium than it is to get the few things you don't want out of the aquarium. So, like, let's say you could get, like, Daphnia, copepods, algae, snails, the fish, the plants, all that, and then you're like, oh, man, I really don't want this algae. I think it's easier to get rid of that than get all those things thriving into there. So I'm okay with that. Bring in all the things. and then go, oh, well, we brought in ick. Okay, well, we got to get that back out. You know, like there's always going to be good and bad. But, yeah, and for me, here's the other thing I think I find weird, or maybe what my hobby is different from maybe your hobby or the next person's hobby. The hobby for me is, what is this thing? Is it good? Is it bad? I better research. Weird. Okay, it's a dragonfly larva.
Right.
Bizarre. Like, that part is fun and interesting to me. Like, you know, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I just want these fish and I want that or whatever. And I like that too. But I love when they're like, that's bizarre. Never seen that before. I got a whole night of interneting to see what this thing is.
Right.
You know, that is the good thing for me. Like, you know, I don't know if it's that guy at the end of the cul-de-sac that's like, ooh, I see their fence needs to be painted. I wonder if they'll let me paint it. Like, that guy just happens to love that. I'm that guy, like, here is something I haven't seen in the aquarium. I am so excited to lose the next day and a half to the internet about reading about this thing. I don't know. I nerd out on it way too much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my own thing. I don't do it to impress people. Like, I don't do, like, I haven't really entered like an aquascape in or anything like that. Like, I'm into, like, the hobby for me is one man, one aquarium. Look at it. That's weird. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Karen Hartfelder says YouTube is sketchy tonight. Hard to give super chats. It won't work.
Oh, dang.
Doesn't work for Karen.
Well, I'll say this. Today
Hartfelder
has been a day.
Today's been weird. It's been a weird day. Weird things are
We got weird stuff going on over there. Somehow, me and Jimmy, we raced down to the shop, filmed, got supplies, ran back here. Supplies! Raced back here, and the show wasn't ready to go, and somehow we're live streaming this in 720.
Oh, we're streaming in 720 today? Yeah. Oh, you messed up, bro.
I done messed up. But I didn't notice that till like 38 minutes into the show, and there's not really any going back on that.
They're not going back now.
It's one of those things like, oh, you didn't click the one extra button on the series of 37 buttons you got to click?
Yeah, and now Team Crispy's mad.
Team Crispy is angry.
Ain't gonna get mad
it's
at
more
you.
Like It's more like Team Grilled.
Mary Beth has a good point.
Yeah, what?
473 watching.
Oh.
And 222 likes. What's up, man?
What?
Maybe the super chat doesn't work, but at least just hit the like button, and then maybe
that'll work.
Maybe the algorithm will pass.
And if you
us
don't
along.
hit the like button, here we go. If you're not going to hit the like button, tell us what we have to do to make you.
And we were going to have a super big guest today.
We really were.
All of our show prep. Not all of it, I guess.
Well, not all,
but all of our previous show prep. Everything we did previous.
Today was the day we were going to bring it. And then, it's like we set out to sail.
It's like when you
go... And the first burst of wind knocked that sail
it's like when you go to
across the sea.
Which,
it was like...
That's like
now we're stuck here.
That's like the outcast. That's like the outcast thing.
Yeah, it's essentially you're just like, dang it.
But I look at it as more the like when you're gonna go clean up the yard, and you're like, "Where's that rake?" And then you step right on the rake, and it hits you in the face.
Yeah,
it springs forth from the ground and hits you in the face.
You go into full cartoon mode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, considering I've been on YouTube for 100 years,
yes.
And
you're old man YouTube.
You have now you have over 100,000 subscribers more than me. I just realized that earlier because I was like, I want over 8,000, and then I was like, he's at 108.57. But that's great, man. Congrats, you're almost to 110. Moving on, buddy.
I'll say this. Everyone's got different...
I'm happy with my marks. I'm not worried about that. I was just mentioning that it was over there when I was talking about getting hit in the face with a rake, and I was like, oh, I remember from earlier.
I'll say this. I'm insanely jealous of your fixing skills. Watching you for 3 weeks straight, I'm just like, I just watched his brain figure that out. My brain doesn't figure that out.
We'll get there.
I'm learning a lot. It's good.
That switch plate over there, there's no switch plate on that, and that bugs me.
Switch plate?
On the light switch over there.
Oh, switch plate. Yeah. I thought it said switch blade. I was like, what are we knifing each other?
It's a switch blade. We're all going to get stabbed.
Or I'll knife you.
We're all going to get stabbed.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny? So a lot of people are asking about the new studio space.
Yeah.
And I did type into the chat, which does not parlay later to the video, so I figured I'd let people know. It's coming audibly. It's coming out very, very soon.
Yes.
And it's a secret.
Yes.
I think we still have a secret date.
There's some like soft openings.
Yeah, we got some soft openings up and coming. And today, like I said, all of our show prep was for our special guest that we did earlier in the week. And it was what was the word? Yeah, today's just one of those days where you're like, yeah, I'm in the mindset, like, that's what I'm going to do. That's what's going to happen.
I woke up
and we're going to do
pumped.
the thing. We're going to do the thing. Right? And then it's like,
Yep.
Shucks. Right? Yep. And then you're like, but a quick personal story on the project that's ongoing, Harold, would be that I would say that, Corey, you got to the point on, I would say Tuesday, we were like, this feels like, it's like, this is going on forever, and it's not done. Yes. Right? And then yesterday,
because as I was telling Jimmy, like, I'm just signing checks.
We started doing all the finishing stuff yesterday, and I could see that look in your eye, like, what happened? It's like almost done.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, and it's like, all
I can
that
see
work,
the finish line now.
All that work piles up to like, basically 10 minutes goes by, and you're like, wait, you guys are leaving? Wait, come back. Don't leave. Do more stuff.
Yeah.
Oh. So.
And it's a perfect point to say thank you to Carson.
Yeah, it was great to have Carson out.
Came out.
I love hanging out with Carson.
If you didn't see the picture.
He should have brought his baby, but, whatever.
If you didn't see the picture, we posted it on the Real Fish Talk community page. If you're not following the community page, you're missing out. It shows up in your phone feed, but on your computer a lot of times it won't show up. But if you just click on that community tab, if you want to see what the studio looks like, there's lots of pictures of we've been building, we've been doing things. And Carson and the Bearded Fish Keeper came out yesterday. And that's why everything came together, is we literally had 5 people putting work to that room. 5 people. That's where I was like, oh, no wonder, because usually it's just Joel and like 1/3 of me or Jimmy, because we're doing other things, and he's just cranking away. Auto water change. Getting you again.
It's all good, man. I'm just looking over there for a second, just checking things out, just seeing what's going on, like peeping with my thing and turning my head, give a little look around the corner, over there, like
keep your eyes here.
Like I'm an owl. Hey, man, I got the owl eyebrows, man.
Woo, hoo, woo, hoo, ha, hoo.
Whoa, one of them came out.
LG3 Nation with the $2.27 super chat.
Oh, we're gonna run through the super chats, and don't worry, G-Bear, we're gonna get to it.
Oh, is it the?
Yeah, man, we're gonna get to it.
All right. Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
So people threw in some super chats. Thank you very much. We'll run through those real quick. What do we got?
We're getting to it.
What was it?
Albert Metzger with the $5 super chat. Hi, Corey. I have a problem with green spot algae on the glass. Heavily planted tank with minnows and a pleco. Excel doesn't help. Only 7 hours of light.
Welcome to my life, brusky.
Here's what I would say. You got a glass tank? Get yourself a razor blade and a little bit of elbow grease. Do that once a month. You're probably okay. Now, if it's on the plants, okay, that's not as easy. But I don't mind as much. The goal is to reach an equilibrium. Maybe you need a little bit more fertilizer because you probably don't need less light. But trying to find a balance.
Just trying to get that balance, buddy.
And I know that I'm going to say, like, oh, get yourself some Nerite snails, my little buddies. And Joel's going to be like, but then you get the white spots.
Then they get the white spots.
I hate the white spots.
I hate them. I hate the white spots.
Yeah. Hashtag Salty Joel.
Yep, that's right.
Is it salty because...
Is that my rep now? Like, what's going on since yesterday?
Well, hold on. Kyle Pace with the $2 super chat.
Well, I know. There's like super chats.
Hashtag Salty Joel. So my question is it you are angry or is it
no, I'm just gonna say
keep saltwater
tank? Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
Yes.
I have saltwater tank and big owly eyebrows.
Wait, that seems like a way better... We need to like make a channel. It's like Salty Joel, and it's you with saltwater tanks, but you rant most of the day. I would watch that.
I bet you would.
I would.
There's so many shows coming up I got to do. I don't know if I can commit, though. I got to commit to it properly.
You got to start committing to enough, because clearly in my mind you have enough free time to enact all my projects.
I do have a new... I do have a new project that I am working on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up. Yep.
I'm gonna not super chat. I'm gonna patronize you $100 and be like, I need you to do an entire episode in Salty Joel.
I'm afraid to say the only person I have that Patreons me $100 is probably going to turn it off.
All right.
Because I think it was a 1 month thing. It's the Fishy Mailman. I think he was only doing it for 1 month.
Yeah, it's a Christmas bonus, bro.
But, which was Christmas bonus, which is cool. It was awesome. Yeah. It's super cool. I'm afraid to mention it, though, because then he'd be like, oh, yeah, man, it's cool. 2 months. I like that.
Yeah.
That's my own vanity, though. But the Fishy Mailman, I am going to send him an email because he gets the producer credit. So I'm going to be throwing that in. But at least I'd have a month to get ready if you patronize me at $100. I could, like... get all the stuff together, because you have to wait till the end of the month, and then, well, I have at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I'll do it the day before it ends.
That's not the weirdest thing, because I'd have at least 2 weeks, you know. Yeah, or like the day of. Yeah, like on the 30th.
It's the 31st. Here's $100.
Yeah. That would be cool. And what's our
concurrent?
What's our concurrent? Yeah, we got to check.
490.
490.
490 was the peak.
All right. 490. That's not bad.
That ain't bad.
That's not bad, my friend. That's almost
not bad
500
for
people.
Telling people, you better show up for the dwarf shrimps. And then be like, haha, it's Cycling Aquarium. Tricked you.
Cycling.
Yeah.
Never mind. Whoops.
Mulligan. Do over.
Yeah.
Car.
It was gonna be the shrimps, man. We were gonna do that. I was so excited. I was thinking about Neocaridinus and crystal shrimps and Caridinas.
Shrimp and shrimp accessories.
And King Kongs and Pinto shrimps. And
King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
And all that kind of stuff. And the Mother Nature
luckily
took hold of the airplane.
Karen Hartfelder super chatted $5. And she says, quit your crying, Joel.
That's not what it says. It doesn't say that.
But people that aren't in the chat won't know that. So they'll just think that forever.
Salty Joel.
It says hashtag Joel is the coolest.
Yeah.
Is that our new thing? Oh, that's our new thing. If you don't put anything in the thing, whoever reads it gets to make it up, and then the people on the podcast will just think that's what Karen Hartfelder said.
Yeah, Karen Hartfelder. Gerald's the coolest.
Karen Hartfelder with Corey's beard is looking on point today.
That's very in sync of you. You gotta get it all penciled in.
That's way more fun. I'm doing that from now on.
Are you?
I think that's fun. I think that's a fun thing.
Yeah. Karen Hartfelder says, "In Sync's my favorite band of all time."
Yes. This is, oh my God, I have a whole new reason to live. This is the best. All right. Oh, if you cannot tell, I am excited.
Right.
All right. Rory.
Corey's my favorite human.
That's right.
And I have children.
Oh, I can't move on. It's too good.
But
don't use them all up.
But I know I'm not.
Yeah,
hey, man,
save these.
I got the endless well on that one, you know.
All right. Rory with, I think it's €5. I don't know. It's some crazy character that is not dollar signs. And so if I'm wrong, I, apologize. But it's...
Oh, it's Super Chat.
Super Chat for Corey of the McElroys and Corvus of the Oskins. Just home from work and logged jackpot just past midnight here in Ireland.
Well, that's not bad at all.
I want to go to Ireland.
What's that?
I want to go to Ireland someday.
You do?
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. We got to go,
Our
guys.
stupid special guest didn't show up, so might as well just get out of here.
When they finally do show up, we're like, we're in Ireland, man.
You just leave a note on the door.
Yeah, we're in Ireland.
Meet us in Ireland, bruh.
Yeah. You're one stop behind.
Lumpy Got any cornflakes?
That's right. Lumpy Dog. $5 super chat. Mm-hmm. Sitting home in the dark, all alone on my 50th birthday. You two knuckleheads are my birthday party. Thank you. What is up with that, Lumpy Dog? You at least got cool dogs. I hope you're like sitting in a recliner, listening to this, petting a doggy, and I don't know. I don't know what else. Like I don't know enough to know what you like. Cause I don't want to be like, yeah, man. Hopefully you get some ice cream. And they're like, I'm lactose. Be like, I don't know, man. Hopefully you get a peanut butter cake, dude. I'm allergic to peanuts. I'm like, oh God, come on. You know.
But are you allergic to peanuts?
I'm not. No.
No.
I'm allergic to not eating peanuts. If I go too long without eating peanuts, it's dangerous.
That's good times.
Yeah. But no, happy birthday. And
some cashews.
Let us know if there's anything we can do for you, man. I know he did a big contest on his channel. He got 200 subscribers. Did all that kind of cool stuff. Did that last week. But hopefully, like for me, see, sitting at home in the dark, all alone on my 50th birthday, half the people say like, oh man, that doesn't sound good. For me, that is like, oh, what can I get you for your birthday? Let me sit at home in the dark with like not talking to anyone. Like that sounds amazing. Shh. What can I get you for your birthday? Shh. A nap. Like, oh my God, gave me a nap.
Right.
Yes. So, but anyway, happy birthday, 50. You got quite a few fish keeping years left in you.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. Halfway there.
Stem cells, bro. Right in the middle.
Word. Your stem cells reproduce in a day and a half, not even 2 days. You're good to go.
As you get older,
that's what I'm saying. His stem cells still at a day and a half.
Yeah.
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 I mean, come on, man. That stem cells half grown or half not grown. I'm saying it's half not grown. Albert Metzger, $2 super chat. Thanks, guys. Love you both. Wait, love both of your content. I was projecting there. Riley Bordelon. Nitrites. Nerites are magic. I am scraping up all of my eggs and shipping them to Joel. Freshwater glitter.
Freshwater glitter.
That would be an amazing trolling.
I got a great present in the mail yesterday.
What if it was a snow globe?
I'm not going to tell you what the present is because I'm going to show it to you guys tomorrow.
What about a Nerite egg snow globe?
A Nerite egg snow globe?
Yeah. All those little...
That's so mean to the...
I'm not sure that it is. I'm not sure that it is.
Doesn't sound like...
Wait, what if we start a whole new thing where we only cycle tanks with snails?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Snail in cycle?
That doesn't...
No?
No.
I'm off base. Sorry, guys. All right, moving on.
Can I do driftwood and plants and stuff? Oh, we got to move on, but we do have to remind me.
I will have to remind you.
I'm going to write it down right here.
Okay.
Water change.
Does that say Jolly Rancher
cycle.
Collection?
Yes.
All right. Jolly Rancher. Ethan Santiago, $2 super chat. Starting a guppy tank. Good stuff, guys.
What happened?
Thanks, guys.
What happened? What?
Ethan Santiago. He's starting a guppy tank. He knows what's really cool, just like we know what's really cool, and that is guppy tanks.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is nice. My 2 guppies are doing good, you guys. I hope my girl's going to give birth anytime soon.
I hope so, too. For your own sanity.
I was peeping her out, and you can see the baby's eyes.
Ooh.
You can see the baby's eyes. It's close. It's close. She's crowning.
Yeah. LG3 Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Curse of the coop.
There's a $2 super chat from LG3 Nation. That says, Joel may or may not have released gases in the studio that caused everyone to evacuate it yesterday.
No, I farted in here for real.
Yeah, remember when someone barged in yesterday and said it smells like farts in here?
That's right.
That wasn't a joke.
It's a statement.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how LG3 Nation knew that, but that was a good super chat. Thank you.
That's a good super chat. That's for sure.
Would you like to grab the next one, or would you like me to keep assaulting you?
I'm gonna see what you got. I'm gonna see what you got.
Lisa Jobs with the $7.77 super chat, which has become a regular thing. I like that.
The 777?
Yeah.
What'd she say?
And it says, here's to Joel, hoping he gets lucky. It says 777.
Meow. Oh, the jackpot.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Hoping he gets lucky.
I thought we were getting demonetized. What happened there, bud?
We're all over the place, man.
I'm telling you, man. We had all of our show prep all week because we are special guests and then he didn't show up.
Yep.
I think I just ruined it for everyone because I just said he didn't show up. Okay, it's a guy. All right, we ruined it.
Yeah. Plastic Bass Hunter with the $5 super chat. find me a Crinum natans, please, please, please.
Okay.
I think the honest best place you might be able to find it, and I don't know that you're going to be, but if I myself was looking for natans like it's going out of style, I would probably ask Dustin's Fish Tanks if he had any. He brings in Thyanum like they're going out of style.
Who does?
Dustin. He brings them in by like the dump truck full of Crinum Thyanum or Thyanum.
Thyanum, yeah.
Yeah. So he might, on his import list, be like, oh, sweet, bring on the natans.
Is that a hard plant to find? You don't carry that one?
No, it's not on like any normal lists. It used to be all around like early 90s, that type of thing. It used to be like super common. It's that one that'll grow like miles long, pretty wide.
Yeah, I know.
band.
That's what I was saying. Like, it doesn't seem like it's hard to find.
I have, in all of my lists and stuff like that, I can't get a hold of it.
Oh, you just can't get a hold of it? Oh. I didn't realize
I don't spend all day trying to get it either, but it's not like it's not on.
Oh no, I mean I was saying that like on my radar, I didn't realize that there was just like a shortage.
I've had a couple of people looking for it for like years.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't know if they like got not over farmed, but like over harvested, or if just not that many people bring them. I don't know what the hang up is, but I do know that it's always for me. It's always old school guys like you buy them for like $3. Every store's always got like a billion of them. Like, where's your like giant waste bin full of Crinum natans? Like, no, I don't. I don't know, man. I wasn't in that realm, I guess. I don't know. So, he said $2 super chat. He doesn't have any. Already checked. Dang it. Yeah, it's a hard plant to find. No joke. So. If I was looking, though, I would maybe try some overseas vendors. Like, okay, they got it. Do they ship it all over to here? It's on my, like, if I ever see it, I'll bring it in. Because I know enough people are looking for it, but I just never see it.
Right.
And so I don't know what the hang-up is there, though. So, yeah. If you got Crinum natans, get your Crinum natan farm going. All right. After the super chats.
So Mr. Shackelford was saying that Boost Plant has Crinum halimistratum.
Yeah, I've got that too.
And that one's pretty common. So
I love that one. Yeah, okay. I love it's my favorite one.
I just don't understand why like Crinum natans. I didn't even know that like there was a big shortage of it. I guess it's never like on my list of like, boy, I need to get some.
Right.
So maybe that's my problem.
And sometimes, well, what I've found out, because now we buy a lot of plants, like no joke, a lot. So much so that the farms ask us, like, what are you going to buy so we can farm enough or try to farm enough?
Oh, there we go. AquariumPlants.com, apparently.
They might have
Crinum natans. They might have it,
yeah. Yeah. Chase down that lead. Hopefully they do.
But
a lot of times they'll stop doing stuff. They're like, it's actually just too much work. We're not selling enough. So we're just not going to make that plant anymore. Like, oh. Like they're just like, we've only got X amount of space, and we found plant B sells better than plant A, even though you were buying 5,000 of plant A.
Right.
We sell 10,000 of plant B to all these other people. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess, yep, you just don't carry Crypt lutea anymore. Okay.
Right.
Well, we'll have to get it from a different vendor, I guess. And so it's... and it makes sense, just like my store. Like, why don't you sell that anymore? Oh, this thing sells better, and I don't have enough room to carry both. Oh, okay. So it's business. What did you have written down besides Jolly Rancher collection?
Well, first we need to start out with blue raspberry. Then lemon probably is going to be the next one, I would say. And then we'd probably...
Where's green apple on that list?
Real reason I was going to say green apple would come next. Yeah. Cherry we just throw into the garbage. Strawberry can come in a pinch.
What temp do you find that they start sticking to the wrapper? Like, and they're like...
Once you have them open for at least like 2 months, 60 days?
What temperature, though? Like, what if they were in the back of your car? You just went to the store, you got the 1 pound bag of Jolly Ranchers, and you're like, I just got to run to this aquarium store. When do you know, like, those Jolly Ranchers got to go in with you, or they can stay in the car? 82?
82.
Yeah.
I believe that's the technical
There's nothing worse. Like, when you, like, go to rip the wrapper off, and you're like, there's still half that wrapper. I have to, like, oh, it's all sticky. now half this Jolly Rancher is on my shirt somehow. Yeah, it's not a good time.
Right. Actually, what I have written down here is the confusion that seems to come up, and I don't understand this. I've never seen this advice.
Okay.
Yet this question came up in the chat a bunch of times.
All right.
I've seen it come up on a ton of my videos and stuff like that. Is using the old water going to help cycle my tank?
And so what is the part that you're either perplexed about, or like, are you asking why are people asking that, or if it does?
It's like, why are people asking that question? Because I've never seen anyone give that advice. Like, oh, you got to get some old fish tank water and put it in here.
I have seen. Well,
I'm just saying, I've never seen anyone give that advice.
Let me back it up. I don't know that I've seen other people. No, I have seen it, but rarely do I see people tell people to go do that. They say, that is what I do. And, you know, I had a side conversation about this just 2 days ago, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, off in private chat. And they were like, does this work or doesn't this work? And for me, it's one of those things like, one, I've never put it under a microscope, so there's that. But in my own brain, I think, and so the common wisdom, I think, is like, take filter squeezings and put it into another tank. You will get bacteria, and it will cycle your tank.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this to be true, but here in a loose way. So like, let's say you take that sponge filter and you're like, squeeze it, water's so brown you can't see in. I don't think that adds a lot of bacteria. I think you loosen some debris, half a plant leaf, a fish poop, some things, and those were coated in bacteria, and you brought minuscule amounts of bacteria over, but all that mulm is the food, and then each day it doubled. So I do think you can introduce some that way, but I don't think it's correct to say, like, just squeeze one in there and it cycles the tank either. It's like, it's a potential starting point. But it's like, to me, and this is the analogy I use, and I can't think of a better one yet, but I will at some point, was like when you boil pasta and you pour the water out, there's still starch in that water that technically is pasta.
Right.
That doesn't make that water, though, pasta. You still have all the pasta over in the pot or the colander. And I think that's what's going on, too, is it's like you're getting some residual bacteria to cycle that aquarium.
Oh, okay. Here it is.
Okay.
Sorry, Joey of DIY suggested that if you take the dirty water from filters, it will aid in starting the cycle.
I think
Joey's video said to do that. Joey's video said, yeah. Okay, so I guess the Lord of the DIY, I guess, said that to use tank water.
I mean, in a vacuum, it is a true statement.
It's not going to do anything. Well, I mean, technically...
It's technically a true statement, yeah.
It's technically a true statement, but I don't understand. And then people over here are saying that it was 70s and 80s advice. So stuff from the 70s and early 80s, I guess.
It depends on...
Was to take the water and put it in to a tank to help it cycle.
But at a certain time, let's say the 60s, it was thought that the older your water got, the better it got. Like, new water was evil, so much so that you could, like... Hey man, I'm gonna give you 10 gallons out of this tank. It's better than gold, you know. But we didn't understand.
Well, I don't know. Like that's the issue that I have. Is like I've seen this question so many times, and it was in the chat here today. Like 50 times it went by.
Right.
And that water is not. It's not carrying a ton of bacteria in it. It does have some, but I'm just wondering like where it has originated, where people have been hearing it from, and like why they're repeating it, or why it's like somewhere floating around in their head.
So okay,
to use that
water.
Because I know that in some instances you would take water from an aquarium to a newly established aquarium if you were trying to help emulate like some water parameters,
right?
But you're not carrying bacteria over.
So I have a little bit of understanding. I have a little bit of understanding of where it came from. And that is, to the best of my reading over the years, that stemmed from the time and when we thought that aged water had a magical property. Like, it literally was that loose of, we don't know why, but aged water is what keeps fish alive. We didn't know that, oh, it's ammonia and things are killing it from new water. We just knew that, you know, and what was happening was, one, old water was magical, and two, when you did water changes, when you live in a world where old water is magical, and then everything dies from, let's say, pH change and all that kind of stuff, you just go, oh, seasoned water is magical.
Okay.
And with you, when you have very low understanding at that point, it was easier to take water from a tank, and it was better than not knowing anything. And then that wisdom gets passed down.
I'm thinking what people may or may not have been confused about, and I've made videos about this, and I think that that Joey made videos about this too, is that you use old tank water to clean your filter out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind, the only reason that you use old tank water to clean your filter out is, especially back in the day when I used to do bucket water changes, I had it there readily available.
Yeah.
But it's dechlorinated.
And it's the same pH, same temperature. There's like no shock value there.
There's no shock value, but the main shock value is there's no chlorine and chloramines in it.
Yeah.
That's the main reason.
My big selling point is, like, it's one more use before you return it to the earth.
Well, I pour it in my garden after that, so there's another use.
Right, exactly. You know,
or
so
into the pond.
You load it up with some fish poopins.
Yeah.
Then you give it to your flowers, or not your flowers, but, you know, your garden.
My
it
flowers,
gets another
bro.
use. Yeah, exactly.
What's wrong, man? I got flowers.
Hey, man, I didn't want to assume. You know. I did do an experiment one time where I was changing this woman's water because I was a maintenance company, and I only ever put the water from her aquarium on one bamboo plant in a planter, and she had another one on the other side. It was like twice as tall. So I wanted to see the actual growth different, and it was wicked different. But I had a long period over like the course of years, you know. So it wasn't like, oh, I did it once. It was like, I'm only gonna dump it on this one and see what happens. I ran the experiments, worked out really well, obviously, as you would know. Like, oh, liquid nitrogen water, like they love that. You can hear them going, ah.
Yeah. And it's already broken down too.
Yeah, it's in it. You know, it's like, it's compost tea essentially. It's just like, oh, look at this. It's like the best form of fertilizer you could possibly offer these things. So, but yeah, I do think it stemmed originally from when we didn't understand it much. It passed down through generations.
Okay.
And articles get written, and that's part of the problem with the internet is nothing. Like, I could say right now, like, you know, it's been proven that Mountain Dew will cycle an aquarium. And if I make that article, it will never disappear unless I stop paying for hosting. And if it gets any traction, pretty soon it can just become a thing, you know? So that's part of the problem is with the internet, there's no cleanup. Like, when we learn new information, you go, oh, a year from now, no, I tried it. Ammonia or a Mountain Dew doesn't cycle an aquarium. If I don't take it down, that doesn't mean that article doesn't exist. And it doesn't mean that someone tomorrow doesn't go, oh, aquarium co-op. Someone said they knew a lot about some other thing.
Right.
And then they're going, oh, well, here's how you cycle an aquarium. Use Mountain Dew. You know?
You better do some Mountain Dew.
Right. And I find that a lot. You can see old information, like on wet web media, that type of thing. Like some of the older, really, at the time, cutting edge, had all the great information. And then you see things like, oh, well, science, yeah, I mean, that's mostly true. But, you know, we don't really do that anymore. You know, that type of thing. And but when you read a bunch of information, and it's all like super correct, it makes stuff that might be incorrect seem more correct. Like, oh, well, all this is true, so that's probably true.
Right.
You know, it quantifies it, if you will. You know, so you could read an article that might say like, oh yeah, here's all the information about this pufferfish and all that, and then you read an article like, oh, diatomaceous earth filters are the best thing that's ever been invented. I need to go get one.
Right.
You know, and now we're like, wait, there's not like a store within 50 miles of you that sells one of those. But, you know, that's how they kind of stumble upon some of that stuff. Because you don't have a filter if you're new to the aquarium. You're just going, well, here's a website that everyone says is really knowledgeable. They know a lot of stuff. And, and then I research other websites, and everything I've researched up to this point was true. And then, you know, so then you lose that filter of like, oh, I stopped fact-checking them.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it traveled down through the generations. And because it is still a truth of like, I do believe if you were to take a bunch of sponge poopy water and dump it to an aquarium, it might bring some bacteria.
I mean, you technically did something.
Right. You know, and the problem is, like this, I believe, they analyze how many bacteria per ounce or something like that at the date of it being made.
Right.
But in our filter squeezings, we have no idea because no one's spending the money to do that. There's no one makes any money off of it. No one's
figuring out.
Right. So it's like, oh yeah, well we could spend $30,000 to learn like, oh, that has 30 bacteria per fluid ounce.
Right. And I'm not saying that you have to. I'm not saying that you have to buy Seachem's startup. What was it called? Stability?
Stability, yeah.
Stability, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm certainly not saying you have to buy that. I'm certainly not saying you have to buy driftwood. I'm certainly not saying you have to buy anything from anybody. I mean, the easiest way to get it is be like, hey, Corey, do you have a old sponge filter in one of your aquariums that's cycled? And he'd be like, yeah. And he'd be like, can I have a chunk of it?
Yeah.
And he'd be like,
cut a piece off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just basically the seeding thing, you know. In a saltwater tank, it's not weird, like I said, to get like 100 pounds of dry rock and then seed it with like 5 pounds of cured. So you just take like this tiny little bit and it's going to grow all this bacteria all over all this stuff. So it really is, it's not that weird for saltwater people to just go like, huh? Yeah, I've kind of read a lot on that. No. You know, so it's really one of those things, and I've always wondered because I've never heard anybody actually say that, like about moving just water over, and that the water will just, you know, carry the cycle with it or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still think it's the problem is quantifying. It is good. Here's the thing: is like, if your option was use straight tap water with the chlorinator, or your only other option, and this is where it kind of goes out the window, but if your only other option was that same scenario plus some filter squeezins, I would take the filter squeezins. But it's just one of those not good scenarios, you know?
Right.
You know, I don't know how else, I don't know the good analogy though to explain, like, you know, it's like, well, we should just put the more effort in and like go with any of the other methods because it's like infinitely better.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, I don't even know how to say this one. Can you pronounce that? Super chat? Oh, wait. No, I was going to say chicken, please, but no, it's not.
Chicken lips.
Chicken lips. Chicken lips 2. That's a license plate right there. Chicken lips 2 with the $5 super chat. For those of you at home, it was spelled CHKNLYPS 2. Now that you've heard us say it, you're going, yeah, of course that's chicken lips. But on the fly, my brain was not deciphering that.
Thanks. It almost looks like chicken apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was like, oh, chicken please, because I like moved the L and, you know. But it says, thanks for the entertainment, guys. Our pleasure.
Our pleasure.
I got some good belly laughs going today with the...
There's some funny stuff happening.
I love the fake... I mean, that doesn't exist. I love the super chats that are hilarious. They're all real.
They're all real. These are all real.
Sarah Kanopoko... Wait. Kanopoko? Yeah. Sarah Kanopoko. $5. What level of copper is deadly to shrimp and snails, and is there a real way to neutralize it if it's in the tap water? 0.4 ppm here. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sarah.
That is a tough question.
One of my favorite people. 3 to 5 parts per million is when it becomes toxic for shrimp and snails.
Invertebrate buddies?
Invertebrate buddies. 0.4 parts per million is not a problem, and that is normal.
So say that again, because I thought you said 3 to 4.
3 to 5.
3 to 5. Ah, and
parts.
This is less than 1/2.
Yes.
Okay.
It's 0.4.
Yep. My brain was lagging behind.
0.4 part per million is just normal for water.
So in reality, I would say that is beneficial to them because every organism, pretty much on the planet, needs some.
That little bit of copper in water, everybody needs some.
And that's why
off the top of my head, it's 3 to 5 full parts per million is when toxicity starts to happen.
Fact check us with Google.
I would double check. It might be 30 to 50. I don't know.
Always fact check us. We're insane.
It's 3 to 5 off the top of my head.
And that's why
0.4 is what normal water is just at.
That's good tasting.
It's not a big deal.
But that's also why in like shrimp cuisine and stuff like that, they're like, it says there's copper in it. Like, they have to get some copper.
It's in stuff.
Yeah. Like it just good. There's gonna be some, and that's another one of those things like, well, the internet said copper is horrible. It totally is in the wrong amount, just like almost everything on this planet type of deal. So
you can neutralize it and eliminate it with a DI filter. Deionization filter will grab copper before it hits the tank. To get it out of the aquarium, copper's safe.
Plants would probably just uptake it, right?
Do that. Plants will uptake it. But
that's one of the...
So neutralize it if it's in tap water. So it's in tap water. I kept thinking like in the tank. But...
like Prime locks up heavy metals.
I think to a degree, but I don't think copper is one of them.
I don't know.
But...
I'm not even 100% sure. Is it considered classified a heavy metal? I'm not sure. But what I do know is this. That's one of the benefits of doing... like smaller water changes is if, let's say, your water right now had 0 parts per million copper, and you did a 10% water change, you would likely have 0.004 copper with the water change, and that would be very little, and the plants would probably scrub that clean before it ever really did anything at all.
What's that?
So if you had doing infrequent water changes, if the plants ate up all that copper, and then you change 10% water, and you know that it's 0.4 out of the tap, it would then be 0.04 parts per million in your aquarium because you diluted it by, 90% or 100%. Really, you dilute it by 100%. But that's one of the benefits of small water changes is the plants will have time to uptake that. And yeah, that's one of the... So that's also on the converse side of that. If you were to... Okay, if you had 0.4 parts per million, and let's say you had a non-planted shrimp tank. A little bit odd, but let's say you did. And you had a lot of water evaporate. Let's say you let it evaporate down 30%, and then you add in 30% of your tap water. Your copper ppm might be 1.2 ppm. So if you kept topping off without water changing, that's what happens with copper. That's what happens with salts, nitrates, almost anything in the water. And that's why we do small water changes, or why myself and Joel absolutely love plants. Plants pretty much ultimate filter.
Right.
They go, oh, that thing's bad. Let me eat that for you.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Dan Squire says there are shrimp at the bottom of the ocean that have copper-based blood, and I wouldn't doubt that. But everything
ocean's crazy, man.
But everything at the bottom of the ocean is a nightmare.
I'm pretty sure it's alien technology down there.
It's aliens.
Yeah, I mean,
Skynet.
Isn't there something crazy? Yeah, Skynet for sure. Isn't there something crazy like, we know all these things, but 70% of the stuff on the Earth still in the deep ocean. We don't know. Or like some crazy number. You're like, dang, that's...
Yeah, we don't know.
We haven't explored like anything really, honestly. Like. You go down there every 10 minutes to see a new thing.
Yeah. Now, we need to bust in before we keep on to the next Super Chats, but we need to do something here because it's 1 hour, 45 minutes into the show, and we need to talk about the word of the day.
The word of the day.
What is our word of the day?
Hold on. This is going to be satisfying, I think. Hold on. I gotta make it so I can see. Make sure you guys can see the word. Oh, God. Here we go. Oh, God. No. Here we go.
What'd you do?
The word of the day.
You broke it.
Hold on. Was veritable yesterday. The word today is rescript. RESCRIPT. Okay. I knew the second use of it. I did not know the first use of it. So rescript is a noun. It says it's a noun, but the second way it's used Is it a verb maybe? Okay. Anyway. 1. An official or authoritative order or decree.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard it used that way. Have you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll read the thing down below and see if it. Any rescript of the parliamentary rules must be approved by at least 2/3 the rules committee. Any rescript, and it is used as a noun there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because the other use of it is an act or instance of rewriting.
Yeah.
See, like that.
Those are both the same.
But the other one, it's got to be like authoritative and that kind of stuff.
The rescript is the object once it's been completed.
Mm-hmm.
So one's the action of doing, and one is the object that it is once it's been redone.
It's just weird to me that one of them would have to be like official and authoritative, and the other one like we could rescript this show, and it's not like, well, is that? But anyway, I am this much smarter than 4 minutes ago. That much.
That mucho?
Which really, on the scale of my smart level, that was a lot. That was like 50%.
50%?
Yeah, that word today, 50% smarter than 4 minutes ago. At this rate, I'm going to be a genius by the end of the year.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can be geniuses too by learning words.
Yes. Oh, yeah?
Yes.
What?
Words. Yes.
Like road?
Roads is actually how it's said. But Central Coast Fish Fan, $5 super chat on the shrimp topic. If my pH is around 8.6, should I just not bother? I'm thinking cherry shrimps. I know what I would do.
Do you?
Yeah.
I know what I would do.
All right, well, I'm going to say what I'm going to do, which I have a great track record of ruining what you're going to do. Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead, man.
I would get myself into Cardinal Shrimp because they like them high pHs, and that's what I would do. They are more difficult than cherry shrimp, but why fight the water when you got the water for the coolest looking dancing shrimp on the planet? That's what I would do. Is that what you would have done?
Well, looks like we got more information coming in.
Oh.
Hold on a second.
All right. This just coming in. Wait for it. Hold on. There's a hurricane coming. What? More information.
More information coming in. Whoa.
This just in from Joel. What do we got?
Well, it says that Central Coastal Fish Fan was saying 6.8.
Oh, 6.8. That's the opposite of 8.6, really.
Yeah. Now, if you're at 6.8,
it's game on.
You game on. You're fine.
Yeah.
I don't even worry about it.
Game on.
You know what I mean?
You can do like all the shrimps pretty much. Like you could take your water to like, oh, let's take it to Crystal Shrimp Town.
Right.
Let's just keep it here and go to Neocardenia Town.
Just high 6.
Yeah. Or you could be like, I want the dancing shrimp. Let's take it to 8.6. I gone crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have neutral water, essentially.
You live
neutral
in
acidity.
La Vida Loca.
Yeah, you have neutral water, so I would definitely go for some cherry shrimp if that's your goal. I would certainly look at some cardinal shrimp if maybe you want to be a balla if you're down there in Florida, I think is what he said, right? Coastal.
If you got 8.6, man, I'd be playing with them cardinals.
But 6.8, not really limited to really anything.
I mean, that's my tap water, essentially. Like,
that's
you can do it all, buddy.
Yep.
I add a little bit of crushed coral just to stabilize my water, but you might have 6.8 with infinite alkalinity, in which case we need to fight and trade homes.
And
I want to live where you live if you have infinite alkalinity and 6.8.
Where is that? I wonder where. Where's the central coast?
I don't know. It's right between the left and the right coast.
Is it between the left and the right, or the east and the west? In the center?
Let's not start that fight.
It's not today. A fight.
Not
it's
today.
Not a fight, bro. Where's our
we got too much to do. We can't fight.
Where's our special guest?
I don't know.
Have they landed?
They have not. Our special guest has not landed. I'll say this though.
Flying in the air.
It is Thursday night, and they land at 6:10. Which, if you know Seattle, I should have left 3 days ago to get there by 6:10. So I'm basically, when the show ends,
they land at 6:10. At SeaTac, you're not going to make it.
So it's still 6:30, but there's a reason why Joel goes home at like 9, so that he can get home in an hour and 10 minutes instead of 3 days. So either A, the special guest has to like nah, man, you just chill out for 4 hours at the airport. Or I can, like, me and Jimmy use the carpool lane and suffer through traffic for slightly under 2 hours.
I think your best bet
is to call it off. Send them
home.
No,
I think the best bet would be to leave here at 6.
I don't know, man.
Let me see here.
All right, you run that. You run
I'm
that
running the
traffic
numbers
math.
here.
You run traffic math. I want to talk about how you guys can support us, because you guys seem to love hearing about how you could help support the show. Some of the many ways you could do that would be buying from aquariumcoop.com. If you got our newsletter today, you would know that, hey, Vallisneria's and New Life Spectrum stuff is on sale for 15% off, and you could use the code podcast10 to save 10% more on top of that. Oh, you could also go to darkstararts.com, click through the Amazon banner, buy all of the expensive things on Amazon, which Joel will get like he'll get 0.4 ppm worth of monies for that. And then you could also choose either of our patrons and support us that way. We can keep the show going because we love to sit in traffic and pick up guests from the airport. Those are most of the ways, I would say. There's probably other ways. Oh, yeah. Sharing, hanging out, super chatting, just being around and being a good fellow. You could be Carson Anderson, and you could come to the studio and help build. Like, there's a lot of ways to pitch in, and a lot of you guys are pitching in, which is super cool. And we appreciate all of that. You're getting lost in the app, man.
I'm not lost in the app.
I ain't lost.
I was about to show you.
I'm about to show you. You're going to show me just like... You're going to turn your phone, and it's going to be like, how is it all red? Like, it's just...
It's all red.
Ooh, what's the current time between here and SeaTac? What does it say right now?
1 hour and 29 minutes.
Huh. So if I leave right now, it would be perfect, technically, if that is 100% accurate. If.
I wouldn't leave now.
Yeah.
There's 2 big crashes. Yep.
When will my large intake sponge filters be in stock? When my wholesaler gets their act together. I've been trying to order them since beginning of December. It is now middle of January. And every time I inquire, they say, don't worry, 2 more weeks. Don't worry, 2 more weeks. Don't worry, 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks.
So what do I have to tell the people that ask me that question? I have to say, oh, don't worry, friend. 2 more weeks, I will have those intake sponges. And then I have to follow it up with, but they tell me that a lot, so I really don't know, unfortunately. But I guarantee you, I will get them as soon as possible because we're losing out on a ton of revenue every single day that we don't have those sponge filters. And honestly, it sucks.
That's silly.
You know, but there's not a lot I could do. You know, we sold a lot of them during the Christmas live stream and all that, which is great.
Right.
Well past our expectations, but it also led to a problem where a lot of stuff gets made in China. It's kind of the holidays there. It's kind of hard to get stuff. Weather is crappy. And to get stuff from there to here to my store and to you is proving to be less than optimal, unfortunately.
Right.
Like, it's one of those things of like, I don't know what to tell you. I trying. They got my money. I was waiting. Hopefully. Yeah, that'd be great. So yeah, that's all I got for that. But I will say this. If you enjoyed today, which I'm hoping if you're here at the end of the show, you did. That's my hope.
Stay till the end.
Yeah, stay to the end. If I was you, would probably make sure I was relatively close to any kind of device that was able to watch YouTube for the entire weekend. I'm not saying crazy mind-blowing things are about to happen, but crazy mind-blowing things are about to happen. And it would be best if you were within reach of a device that would allow you to partake in such, I want to say, events, plural. You'll have to be crafty. You'll have to be scoping around the internet. But I can say there are some things happening. There, you know, we've alluded to a guest, but we might not have been talking about the same guest at all those times.
That's right.
So There could be something of an extravaganza.
It could be.
There might be a reason why my fridge is filled with meats and cheeses.
Think about the meats. Think about the cheeses.
Yes. So that is my advice to you is, make sure you subscribe to Aquarium Co-op, Real Fish Talk, Corvus Oskin. There will be shenanigans on all of those things. And if you want to be a part of them, I recommend doing that. If you don't, hey, I ain't hating. We'll see you next Tuesday. That's no big deal. It's no big deal.
Right.
But if you did want to be in on it, on something that, that's going to be fun and doesn't really happen, I recommend you do. Turn on all the alerts, hit that notification bell so that way you'll get notified 6 hours after we've already been live. But at least it's like a lotto. You enter your name. Maybe I'll get notified this time.
Right.
I could be the lucky winner.
Maybe.
That could happen. So we will try to do that, and we're working on it. Apparently, the schedule tonight has been delayed, but hey, you do what you're gonna do. Snow delays. I don't even have snow, man. I got wind and rain. That's what we got.
Wind and rain.
Wind and rain.
Oh.
So yeah, sign up for all those things.
That is.
Get ready for the surprises.
Uh-oh.
And the shenanigans. Fish Razor. Thanks for all the info, guys. $5 super chat. Mary Beth Maeve says 427 watching, 355 thumbs. That doesn't mean they're all thumbs up. It just means you guys on the way out, make sure you hit that thumbs up or thumbs down. When the show goes live, leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite part was. That's always a good thing. Like, we get plenty of people telling us what you hate. We get plenty of that.
Yeah, we get lots of that.
So that we're good on that. I'm not saying like we actually do read it and like quantify it and that type of thing, but it's actually harder at the moment. Like, oh, do they love that part? Do they like the word of the day, or are we just crazy? Because I actually love the word of the day. That's like one of my favorite parts of the show. But no one ever says anything. Well, we did get a super chat once that used it, and I took that as a I'm gonna put a 1 next to the column of someone liking the word of the day. So yeah, let's do that. And so yeah, let us know what parts you do like. I got an inkling. We got an inkling of the parts you don't like. We're working on remedying that. Rest assured. But help us craft what you do like. Thanks for hanging out. And
yeah,
I'm gonna say this.
Thanks for coming on down, Rhett.
I think you guys will be seeing a lot of us this weekend.
There'll be a lot.
Hopefully you like it. If not, no harm, no foul. You don't have to watch.
Yeah, no
but
harm,
you
no
do
foul.
have to listen.
You don't have to.
We got your ears. Yeah. All right. Well, I know we started
Thanks, guys.
30 seconds late, but we're done about 30 seconds early.
Thanks, guys.
And
we're all missing out on that 60 seconds, but don't worry. We'll be back tomorrow.
We're gone in 60 seconds.
Gone in 60 seconds. Lenore!
Yes.
Lenore, where'd you go?
Oh. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Seriously
guys.
appreciate it, and we'll see you
Later.